Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Kunzman, managing editor of Contagion, here with another remote video conference interview as part of our ongoing COVID-19 coverage. And today's guest is joining us to discuss the most recent and breaking news that we have in terms of vaccine development and ongoing research. Obviously, nothing major has come to news in terms of results. We're still waiting on that, but we do have a few candidates that we can break down and discuss, and we'll be doing that today with Dr. William Schaffner, professor of preventive medicine and infectious disease at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Before we get going, Dr. Schaffner, you want to just say hi?
Hello, everybody. And Kevin, good to be with you.
Thank you. It's so glad to have you too. It's end of day Friday right now, and I think it's been a relatively positive week in terms of developments and in terms of looking at this disease and understanding a little bit better. And maybe let's end it on a more optimistic note, even more so by talking about some of these candidates. So the first one that comes to mind, and it sort of was the biggest story in terms of vaccine development, came out about a week plus ago, came from the Oxford University team, and that CHAdOX1, I think, is now undergoing human trials and real-time assessment, and they're actually hoping, it seems, to have results later this summer, hopefully, for its benefit. Can you tell us a little bit about it, though, Doc?
Well, it's a recombinant novel coronavirus vaccine, which uses an adenovirus vector. This is a group that has worked on MERS and SARS vaccines in the past, so they used that as a starting block and gave them a bit of a head start, as a matter of fact. And it's been given to macaques, and it's shown to protect the macaques against the challenge. So they're pretty excited. They're a little excited about this and competitive. And indeed, as you say, they say if everything goes right, and they always preface it by that, they hope to have a vaccine ready to use by sometime in the fall or perhaps early in the winter. And my understanding is that they feel so confident about this, they're actually starting to manufacture the vaccine so that at the end of the trial, assuming everything goes well, they will at least have a stockpile of the vaccine that they can start to administer, probably to healthcare workers first.
And it's interesting, too, because I noticed that they did mention, of course, the immediate manufacturing of the vaccine while they're assessing it, which is just kind of fascinating to me, like just very ambitious thinking. In the same time, they also kind of admitted the limitation of beginning an early vaccination trial, which is that not all candidates, and in fact most, are not very successful. So, I mean, there has to be some kind of confidence that what we're looking at, though, is going to have some kind of benefit, right, if they're already manufacturing.
Exactly right. But it's a little like a horse race, right? And the horses haven't gone around the track yet, but you put your money down. And the obvious issue is that this disease is thought to be of sufficient magnitude, of sufficient importance, that laying that bet in advance is a worthwhile investment in terms of potential lives saved.
Well, it's certainly interesting to hear that mindset for it, and I think some of the immediate response was a lot of excitement, particularly because of the manufacturing news behind it. But like you said, it is a gamble, and there's no certainty behind it. It's just more so driven potentially by hope. But I guess we will see. That might be the earliest one, right, that we're going to see any kind of results or findings from. But it is also dependent on real world incidents happening. So it could be delayed if it's beneficial, just because we're not going to see the results of people reporting after being vaccinated.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. And let me just perhaps add a little footnote. It's based on hope, but it's educated hope. These are serious scientists, and they have reason to be hopeful, but they're also realistic. They always say, well, everything has to work out if the vaccine's going to be ready this year yet.
Yes, yeah, of course. And maybe if we could take a sidebar away from just looking at these candidates for a second, Doug, can you talk a little bit about the timeline right now for vaccination, if you can put it into a more realist approach for the audience that maybe wants to know?
Well, first you have to develop the vaccine candidate in the laboratory. it has to be a product that you think is actually going to evoke an immune response. Then it usually is put in some animals to make sure that there isn't something adverse that's going on and you can produce an immune response. And then it goes into a phase development program. It's first given in phase 1 to a small group of people, 40 to 80 people or thereabouts. And two things are looked at: safety. Does it do anything adverse in that small group of people? And do you actually get the immune response? You draw blood from the people after about a month. Oh, and that's one of the things you can't rush. The body makes its antibodies, and you have to wait for the body to do that in order to draw the blood and assess whether an antibody is being produced. And that's one part of the process that can't be hurried. So after you do that, and everything going well, you put it into a larger group of people, several hundred, same reasons: immunogenicity and safety. And then, of course, if that all works out, you put it into a much larger study where a group of people will get the vaccine, another group will not. Nobody knows who got what. You do it in a coded fashion. And then you see over a period of time who gets sick and who does not. And you compare the occurrence of illness in the vaccinated with the control arm. These are all volunteers, fully informed. And what you hope to discover is, unfortunately, illness in the unvaccinated people, the people who got the placebo, and of course, a much lower rate of illness in the people who got the vaccine. And then you can assess the safety implications comparing the two groups similarly. Some of the people who are watching may not recognize that even if you inject salt solution into someone's arm, in these several days afterwards, some people will have headaches, some people will have fatigue, some people will have a sore arm, and the like. So you have to compare the frequency, comparing the placebo with the folks who received the active vaccine.